Hi and welcome to the PK52 podcast channel.
The thing about picking the right headshot is that it's going to make you stand out above other people.
But it's too much edited. It's unnatural. And you're not going to look like this in the video. You're not going to look when you walk in.
It's not just about surviving anymore. It's about thriving. It's about getting auditions.
We are here today with Felicity Jackson. She's been an actress herself. She's been working for many years in the world of casting, and she's been for many years organizer of the Pro Expo and the Young Talent Expo that actually will come quite soon, in about 1 month here in London. So I'm really, really excited, and thank you so much to be here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited to do your podcast.
Thank you. I want to ask, if you want to introduce briefly yourself to our audience. Talk a little bit about you, what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So my name's Felicity. I run Actors Pro Expo and Young Talent Expo. I trained at drama school. I worked within casting for 12 years and I now full-time run Actors Pro Expo and Young Talent Expo as trade shows to help guide and support both young performers getting into the industry with Young Talent Expo and Actors Pro Expo for actors that are already in the industry, teaching them how to survive and sustain their career. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I want to start straight away asking you, because of all the experience that you built up from in front of the camera, behind, you have quite all-around experience. I want to talk about the importance of the headshots, about how much people need to invest, and about their time and choosing the right photographer and the research and the picture they choose to put on their profile in order to find a job.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think on every single Instagram live, workshop, blog, anything I've ever done with casting directors and agents, it's very mixed. Their opinions on everything apart from one thing, which is how important headshots are. And that is something which everybody seems to agree on within the casting world, is that the most important thing for actors is their headshot. And if they aren't getting work and they aren't being brought into the room or sent auditions, then that is probably the first thing that they need to be looking at before they look at changing agents or anything like that. Actually, what is my marketing material and what is my headshot that I'm using? Now, the thing with headshots is with casting websites, which is what I've got a lot of experience with because that's the world that I worked in for 12 years, the headshot on your casting profile, whether it's Spotlight or Star Now or Mandy, Backstage, whatever it is so important because when a casting director is scrolling through all these different profiles, that's the first thing that they are able to see is the headshot that you've picked. So making sure you've got something which shows who you really are, not you on a really great day, like the best day where you look stunning. That's not really what you need. You want to have a photo which really shows who you actually are, what's unique about you, whether or not that's that you've got, a different shaped nose or crazy hair or, really big eyes or one eye bigger than the other or whatever it is. A headshot which is really unique to you will serve you so much better than a headshot which makes you look really pretty or something like that. And the thing about picking the right headshot is that it's going to make you stand out above other people. And when you're applying for jobs on casting websites, that headshot is really the first thing they're looking at. They're just looking at the headshot and then your name. And the name, it doesn't matter so much. It's really about the headshot. So I think that headshots are probably the most important thing for actors. And if you're going to invest in anything before any other kind of marketing material that you might have, that headshot is key because you're using it on your Spotlight profile, any other casting website you use, nowadays your Instagram page, your X page, you're really using that at the bottom of your emails. It's something which is kind of follows you around and people always remember about you. And another thing about headshots is that I think it's really important to be consistent with your headshot. So I'm not saying that you have to keep the same headshot for 10, 15 years, but if you're going to use a headshot on your Spotlight, use that same one on your Instagram, use that same one below your signature, because if you're on the radar of a casting director and they've seen you on Spotlight, for example, they use the talent directory, they've seen you on Spotlight, and then for some reason you come up on their Instagram or your email comes up, if you're using different headshots, that there's just no brand. You're not able to kind of keep consistent throughout, and people aren't really going to remember who you are. So making sure with the headshot that you are consistent with that choice at that period of time, and making sure that that headshot is serving you. So it's getting you auditions, you're being seen. And if the headshot is getting you through the door, then that's a great headshot for you. And if it's not, then it's time to move on. I think with headshots, people think about changing their headshots a lot with their look, but I actually think people should think about headshots with the amount of work they're getting, or actually, sorry, not the amount of work they're getting, the amount of opportunities that they're getting, because I think that is the sign of a good headshot. Is it getting you through the door? And I think when people are looking for headshot photographers, a tip that I always give people is start looking for other actors who are getting jobs that you would like to get. So similar to what I say about agents, instead of looking for an agent or instead of looking for a headshot photographer, have a look for different headshots that you see on social media and things like that, that people are like, oh, I've got this job or I've got that job. And then go backwards and be like, oh, okay, who was their headshot photographer? So instead of looking for a headshot photographer, look for other actors. And I'm not talking like, what's Reese Witherspoon's headshot photographer? I'm not talking like that. I'm just talking like other working actors that are in your world, and who are their headshot photographers, who took that photo that got them in the door, that the casting director noticed.
Yeah, I think it's quite important because you mentioned quite a good point. The fact is, like, maybe you are in acting, you see maybe you don't have straight away some audition, and then okay, maybe I change this picture, and you're trying to change more often, like oh, maybe this is not working, and then you might confusing, and then maybe you have this one on my email, this one, so they can see me in all the spectrum.
Yes.
And like I said, that's confused, that's not.
Yeah.
And also probably because usually in the profile you can always suggest about 5 pictures maximum, where you have like your own range. Which picture would you choose as a main picture between the range that you have there? So let's say that you have 5 pictures that you believe they're strong, and maybe you consult your agent as well if you have an agent, and say, okay, there's the 5 pictures strong about you, they're all both selling. How do you choose the main one that you will put on your main headshots and promote throughout your marketing profile?
I think if you've got an agent, then the first thing you would do is speak to your agent, and hopefully they'd be able to help you with that. If you haven't got an agent, then you could first of all use it as a reason to reach out to some casting assistants, value their opinion, reach out to them and say, hey, I know that you've been casting this and this and this recently. I've had these headshots done and I would really value your opinion. Would you be willing to give me some advice? You might not get any responses, but it's always worth sending the email, because first of all, it is just a chance to reach out. Second of all, it's a good opportunity to get some feedback. And third of all, you're kind of already getting on their radar. So that's one option for unrepresented talent. And then another one is speaking to drama teachers that they've had, other actors that are in the industry, and other people that they perhaps went to drama school, things like that, and seeing if they can get some advice from them on what headshot to take, to go with. But finally, really it's up to the actor to kind of look at it and think, which one do I think is going to work for me, and which one is the most versatile as well. Or if you are constantly getting the same work as a particular character, then go with that with the headshot, because every actor just wants to be a jobbing actor, right? It's rare that you meet an actor and they're like, oh, it's so annoying, I'm only ever cast as this role and I'm constantly in work. Like, okay, lots of actors want to kind of try lots of different roles, but if they are constantly working, then it's like, okay, I'm doing well on this train, let's just keep on it. And so some actors will stick with a headshot, which is a bit more kind of their type, because they know, okay, that's going to get me a lot of work. And I can see from my previous auditions, I'm constantly being brought in for this exact type of person at this point in my life. So I'm just going to go with that. Whereas if you're a bit earlier in your career and you're a bit more open to lots of different roles, then having a headshot, which is very versatile, it can kind of be, that face can go lots of different ways. And it's a very, a very versatile casting. And you think to yourself, okay, this could play 10 different roles, then go with that one. But like I said earlier, I think really the proof is the amount of auditions you're getting. So if you use that headshot for 6 months, for example, and you haven't been brought in the room once, then you're like, okay, now might be time to swap on one of the other ones that I've had that and have that one's my main one. And then when you swap, then it's like, okay, I'm going to swap my Instagram picture, I'm going to swap my signature picture, I'm going to swap them all, because we're trying to keep brand awareness throughout. We're not trying to do a different headshot. That's something which people do. They're like, I'm going to try one headshot on Mandy, one handshot on backstage. Yeah. I really do not recommend that because casting directors are using lots of websites at the same time. There's castings which are on Spotlight, that are on backstage, that are on Star Now, and sometimes they're only on Spotlight, and sometimes they're only on Star Now, whatever it is. But not every casting director, but a lot of casting directors are across them all. So if you're using a different headshot on them, then they're not going to remember you from all of the different ones. Now, if your goal is not to get as many auditions as you want, but just to kind of road test your headshots and see which ones you get the best work on, then okay, that might be a time that you try different ones on different platforms. But I've heard of actors doing that, and I always say it's a really unfair test, because there's so many other things within that experiment. For example, the jobs on Star Now are different to the jobs on Backstage, that are different to the ones on Spotlight. Yeah. So if you're using one headshot on Star Now, one headshot on Spotlight, and you're like, oh, I'm getting more castings from Star Now, then it's like, okay, but that might just be because you're going for different types of jobs. Whereas if you just try and use the same headshot on everything, the most likely thing is that the casting director is like, I know that person, I know Felicity, I've seen her there. Yeah, actually, I'm going to bring her in for that role. I've seen her in lots of things. It's the same with all marketing, like even with Young Talent Expo and Actors Pro Expo. The goal is that every actor sees it 7-8 times in different places. They keep hearing the name, they keep seeing it. And, I think that I don't know what the exact marketing, technique is, but it's something like people have to see something 8 times before they actually kind of go for it. So like with my event, for example, I try to make sure that it's in loads of different places, loads of different feeds and conversations and podcasts and everything, so that people hear and see of it lots of times, and they're like, ding, I'm going to go to that. And it's a bit like casting directors. If you can make sure that casting director has seen that headshot in lots of different places, then finally when a breakdown comes through and they're like, who do I know that's like that? Ding, you hopefully come into their mindset, and that's what it's all about with headshots, is keeping on people's radars. And I think that sometimes it's really easily done, and sometimes it's so easy just to be focused on getting the job. But if we try and focus on getting on the radar and getting in people's long-term memories with that headshot, then that's going to serve actors and everybody, to be honest, not just any business owner, which an actor is. They're a business. Any business owner so much longer than just like, oh, I want them to come to that one thing. No, I want them to bring me in for the next 20 auditions that they're doing, or I want them to come to my next 20 events. Like, it's the same for whatever kind of world you're in.
It's a bit like considering the headshots like your logo of your brand.
Exactly.
So if you think about the Coca-Cola, we say change the brand, like the logo every 5 seconds, you will not remember, you will not buy it.
Yeah.
So if you keep the same logo with the same color, the same things, so same things as the concept of a headshots. You keep the same one constantly for a time long enough to be remembered.
Exactly. But the same with a logo as well, and a brand, that if a brand is, really not getting a lot of audition or got a lot of sales or anything like that, then that's one thing that they're probably going to think about changing. And it's not chopping and changing all the time, but it's just like, okay, this isn't working. I'm not getting through the door. And if you're not getting auditions with your agent, and speaking to your agent as well, because it's such a difficult time. It's so quiet. There's lots of ups and downs. And speaking to your agent, is this the same for everybody? Like, is the whole agency, is every actor not being seen for 9 months, or is it just me? If it's just me, okay, we need to make some changes in my marketing material. Is it all actors? Okay, fine, it's all actors. Let's hold tight and let's not move on. And then obviously there's the obvious times when you physically change a lot. So for children, they'll need to get their headshots done a lot more. And then for adults, you know, if you put on a lot of weight, if you lose a lot of weight, if you change your hair or whatever it is, then having those different headshots, having those headshots updated so that you can be honest when you walk into the room, which is rare because people don't always look like their headshots. And
I mean, how often would be like in a term of like young and adult, roughly, unless they change in putting weight or changing hair, something that's drastically changed the look, the way they look like? How often you would say an adult would change the headshots and a young one?
I think that I think the first thing to say is that if an actor is financially struggling and they are getting auditions, there's no need to get new headshots. And I think that there's a lot of pressure on actors to constantly be paying for things. So I think if an actor can financially afford to get new headshots done and they're in a good place in that point in their life, then I would say getting them done every 2 to 3 years is a good thing for an adult. To keep changing their headshots every 2 to 3 years. But that is if an actor is able to. If they're not able to, but they are getting auditions, then it's like, okay, those headshots are working for you. But I think anything past about 4 years, you know, we change, people change. And that's a good thing. Like, you want your new headshots to show like your wrinkles and, you know, to show like your natural, like where your hair is naturally and all of that kind of stuff, and not to kind of go and get like a big blow dry before a headshots, because unless you're going to do that for every single audition that you walk into, you really want those headshots to look like the authentic version of you, and not kind of not you going to a wedding or you going to a black tie event, you know. And I think that's so understandable and normal. Like, people want to look good, right? You want to look nice, but it's not your Tinder picture, it's your headshot, and you really want that headshot to be completely authentic. The worst thing is when an actor comes in, like we do Perform for Good, which is the panel at our events, and the panel is casting directors and agents, and sometimes they'll say like they have in front of them all the headshots for the people. Sometimes they'll say afterwards like some of them literally look nothing like the picture. Like they walk into the room and you couldn't recognize them. So I think, which is ironic because, to be honest, sometimes I put casting director pictures up on my website, and then they arrive at the event and I'm like, you look nothing like your headshot. So it's not just actors. Sometimes casting directors do it too. But to be fair to casting directors, they're not using their headshot as a marketing material like an actor is. But yeah, I think making sure that they look like you every day is so important, and not just you on a great day.
And also, like, I think like the young one a bit more often because they're growing up, so they
Definitely.
might need it, but just because obviously nature for them like have this bit changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The younger you are, probably the more often you need to.
Definitely. I mean, I think children, if you've got an agent, then I think agencies often do kind of these quite regularly with their children. But if you've got a child, then I would say probably every year. I mean, we've got kids, we know how much they change. So I imagine for a child actor, you would need to change them about every year. rather than waiting that long.
And also, like you said, it's true they want to look at the best picture. I remember once I had a girl, like it came to me, there's like, oh, because like I always got to be cast for younger one, but my picture looks older. So I come there, and then I come there and say, no, it looks too young.
Yeah.
And she was like so disappointed. So, okay,
Yeah.
first of all, like probably don't put makeup.
Yes.
A lot of people tend to put like, I had the picture, but you're not in the video. You understand the video, have a spotlight, they make you, sometimes you need that makeup to look natural. But in the picture, you pick up everything. So that makeup actually doesn't do any good.
Yes.
It just like make a headache for the photographer, and then needs to edit and looks to wipe up your face, which is not what you want.
Yes.
And so, I would say like, just minimal, like really like as simple as you are, like you said, and the vibration probably is the other point, that it's like, what's the energy that you express, that you vibrate through, more than like what you want to be, or like you said, a Tinder profile. I mean, because I saw like very often seeing like in a lot of good pictures, good headshots, but too much kind of fashion style.
Yes.
So you then just like people that have freckles not having the picture is good, is beautiful, looks like the fashion edited version of that person, but it's too much edited. It's unnatural. And you're not going to look like this in the video. You're not going to look when you walk in. So I know that it's like attractive when you see it, but probably you'll be not picked because of that.
Yes.
And the previous experience the casting director had before in walking through, because it's wasting of time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with children and like teenagers, if the parents can really encourage them not to wear makeup, then that is so much better, because the casting team wants to see them natural as much as they can. Even when I was doing, when I worked in casting, even all of the modelling stuff that we did, every single time the agencies would send their request through, it's like in capital letters, no makeup. They just don't want to have these pictures which show them, because if you do get the job and you are in the audition room, they're like, oh, I can do this with this person. I can put loads of makeup on them, or I can, whatever it is that they want to do when they're actually filming. But if they haven't got a blank canvas to work with, and they just have those pictures which make them look older than they are, especially with teenagers, that is usually not what casting directors want. They usually want to see, authentic. I think that's the word probably which comes up in every seminar at the events, from casting directors and agents and directors. They all just want authenticity. They want to see the real person. They don't want to see the made up version, whether or not that's their acting or their headshots. They just want authenticity and to see a grounded version of someone, of who they actually are, not kind of something that they're portraying.
Makes sense. May I ask you something, like, because now you build the Actor Pro Expo and the Young Talent Expo, working with both actors, and in the expo you have like putting all together like different professionals and workshops and interview, they're giving a lot of insight. How you get this idea, how you get there, how everything started? I'm curious.
Okay. So how did it all start? It's 16 years old now. 16. Wow. I know. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So how it actually all started is basically I came out of drama school. I was a jobbing actor, and I was really, really good at survival jobs. So I had so many like promo jobs and like supply jobs, and just so many. And I was always hooking friends up with all these kind of like extra little jobs. And then I was doing one of these jobs, which was a freshers fair. And I was working with a company which sold discount cards for students. And I was there and I was like, this would be really interesting for actors to have like a fair, basically. But the original idea was to have a fair which was all of the booths were second jobs for actors. So the original business was called Surviving Actors, and we were called Surviving Actors for 10 years. And there's so many OGs, I call them, that remember Surviving Actors. And that was my company name for 10 years. And it didn't actually make that much sense, but after about year 3, because basically we did so much more than that, but it was just the company name. And then we had a 10-year party, and basically loads of actors were like, Felicity, you have to change the company name. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's not just about surviving anymore. It's about thriving. It's about getting auditions. It's about booking the room. It's about so much more than just surviving. And it kind of sounds a bit negative. And so that 10-year mark, we were like, right, okay, this is the kind of a gear change for us. And then we changed the name to Actors Pro Expo. And we really grew from the moment we changed the name. And I think that it basically meant that when people saw the event, they knew what it was a bit better than the old days when we were called Surviving Actors. But yeah, the whole idea is still the same really as it originally was, which was to build an event that actors can come to that helps them, supports them, and keeps them doing what they're doing, and keeps them in the industry. And it's an industry, and it's still the same as it was 16 years ago, but it's an industry which is so much easier to continue in if you have money, basically, and finances behind you and a rich family in order to mean you can stay. And the whole idea from the event is to basically give actors the skills and second jobs and everything that we can to mean that they stay in it a bit longer, and they find their path and they find their way. So like the upcoming Actors Pro Expo event, we've got like audiobook narration, and we've got as one of the things, we've got voiceover companies there, we've got stage combat companies, and it's kind of showing actors all of the other avenues that are there for them as an actor. Well, it's not just stage acting, or it's not just screen acting, there is kind of other things. So yeah, that's kind of how it all started and where it's kind of evolved to. But the original idea is still the same, basically, a day to support actors and keep them in the industry, and just give them a day where they can come and feel like an actor and not feel like they're just kind of surviving and they're not able to, they're spending every day as a wait or whatever it is. And it's a day to remind them that, okay, you're an actor, this is your path, you just need to get a few tools under your belt to make sure that you can continue in it. We never say you're going to come to Actors Pro Expo and become famous, you're going to get a job like that. We've literally never said that. That's not our vibe. You're not going to come to the event, get a job immediately and be on Hollywood. Like, that's just not how it works. And we would never make stupid lies like that up to kind of get people to come. But hopefully they come to the event, they pick up some great pieces of advice, they meet some contacts, they network with people, they find a new agent, they do all these things. And then 5 years later, we're a piece of their journey. We're a piece of that. We're not the reason that they've succeeded, but we're perhaps a piece of that puzzle. And that one day in 5 years' time, they might turn around and go, oh yeah, when I went to that event, I met that person. And when I met that person, this happened. And then this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. And we're just part of that journey.
That's wonderful, really. It's a wonderful meaning to do so. Also because there are not many places in London where you have you can do networking besides just a big film festival.
Yeah.
And that's it pretty much. There's not many events, and everything is maybe also because it's a very big city. Yeah. So it's everything a bit vast. Yes. So you need to travel here, to travel there, and in this event, I think this is a brilliant idea because you can have everything in one place. So you can just get all the information at the same time. You can networking, and you can assist in some of the workshop, ask your own questions. That sometimes because of overloading of email, you might not get an answer. Not because is there something personal, just because you've been bulk and then a lot of email the casting director will receive. Or sometimes to me it happened receiving some answer after 4 months. That's why, man, how you could just remember? I even forgot myself. Which I found beautiful that, but
Yes.
you might forget about it. In the event you get a chance to ask your own questions.
Yes.
Which, yes, is definitely really useful.
It's just lovely to be in the room. I mean, I felt like when COVID happened, I just remember sitting in my garden thinking, it's all over. Like, it's done. The event's done. I don't know how we're going to be able to come back from this. I don't know if events are going to survive. And what's been so nice since COVID, and I am in lots of support groups with other event organisers and trade shows, and I'm not alone with this feeling. What's so lovely since COVID is how much people value being in the room, like how important that is to people. Like before COVID, nobody ever came to Actors Pro Expo and were like, oh, it's so nice to be in the room. Like that was not a word that people said, whereas now they're like, God, it's good to be in the room with other actors. It's amazing. It's nice to have interaction face to face. I mean, some people that had their drama school years during the COVID time come to the event and they're like, this is the first time I've been in the room with other actors. I've only done it online. I've only been on Zoom. And don't get me wrong, okay, Zoom online stuff, amazing. Makes it so much more accessible. I am there for it. But sometimes it's just good to be in the room, and it's just good to have a real conversation with someone, have a bit of face-to-face time with them. A casting director which you've been emailing, or you've been in an audition, you've done some self-tapes with, they're doing a seminar, you're like, great, I'm going to go to that one. You put your hand up, you're just like, hey, my question is X, whatever it is, and it's just nice to have that interaction with them in person. And as well with other people as well, like other actors. There's so many at the event. I literally love, my favourite thing is basically walking past and overhearing conversations where they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in years, and like big cuddles and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I love that. I love that people are like reconnecting at the event and seeing each other again. Because for people that have trained at drama school, whether it's a 1-year course, 2-year, 3-year, and I know from my own experience that those 3 years, for me it was 3 years, and those experiences and that drama school time is like just gold dust, and such an amazing transformational time for people. So those relationships that you make and that time that you've spent with people is so special. And then suddenly it's like, you're off, you're in auditions, and someone's on tour and someone's doing this, and everyone's doing different things. And so to have a day where everyone's back in the room and sees each other again, and they're able to kind of come to this big event, and then we audition always do an after party afterwards, and so they can come to the after party and they can just really spend time basically all there with each other, asking questions, getting advice, and spending time is really, really nice when not everything, but a lot is online these days. So it's nice to have something really in person.
Yeah, I think it also boosts like a bit your confidence.
Yeah.
Makes you feel like we're all in the same boat.
Totally.
And give you like also like when you have maybe a time that is not working, you get the chance to see and talk with other people and see there's a way for everybody.
Yeah.
It's just a moment.
Yeah.
So I think also from a personal point of view, it's nice.
Definitely.
And what about the Young Talent Expo? Because we talk a lot more about the adults,
Yeah.
but the young one, I found like last time, a lot of people talking with, and they found it like, they were quite happy to be in there just because they would be able to ask all the questions because they're starting now.
Yeah.
And having everyone there, they don't have to go here and there to ask.
Yeah.
That's why I've been hearing, talking with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So what about your feedback and your point of view about it?
Yeah, what's so nice with the Young Talent Expo is that you a lot of the time have these incredibly ambitious young people that are like 10, 11, 12, and they've been telling their mum and dad like, Mum, I really want to do this, I really want to go to drama school, whatever. And then it's an event that they can bring their parents to and be like, this is what I want to do. These are some top drama schools. These are some headshot photographers. This is Spotlight. This is Equity. Come along to some seminars, come along to some workshops and really kind of understand this industry that I really want to get into. So it's just a really amazing chance for young people to get their parents kind of on board a bit more and get some really valuable knowledge about the industry. And like when I went to drama school, My mum sent me with a monologue. So I was 18, auditioning for like every drama school in London. My mum sent me with a monologue for a 65-year-old woman. I was 18. Like, I was like, now I look back and I'm like, Mum,
Why?
but my mum's a physiotherapist. My dad's an electrician. And I'm like, I want to be an actor. And they're like, okay, cool. Yeah, right, okay.
I find you the monologue.
Here's a monologue. And I didn't even think twice. I was like, oh, thanks, Mum. That's great. So I went and did a 65-year-old woman monologue at every drama school. I mean, it's just like, whereas if they'd have had something like Young Talent Expo, we have a whole seminar on how to get into drama school. And one of the big things that they'll be talking about is monologue choices. And obviously, number one tip, something your age. You know, it doesn't seem that difficult, but it really was.
But if you don't know, it is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you don't know, it is. And also, there is, for young people, potentially more than older people, or adults, I should say, there are a lot of scams out there. There's a lot of agencies that are like, oh, you have to pay a huge fee and we promise that we're going to do this and this and this. Whereas if you come to something like Young Talent Expo, you're getting that knowledge. You can speak to Spotlight, you can speak to Equity, you can sit at that stage for the entire day and watch the interviews, the performances, and really get all of the information that you need to get started. You're not going to leave and be like, okay, I know everything now, I'm an expert. No, but you'll come, you'll meet people, you'll connect with people, you'll leave with contacts, you'll come to seminars and workshops and get lots of more knowledge on it, and then you'll leave with a good basis that you can then go ahead and make decisions about. Do I want to go to drama school? Is that the right route for me? These days, there are lots of different options. Like there's I Am Pro that are going to be there, which are online drama school. But then there's people like Italia Conti that are going to be there. Central are going to be there. Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. There's real top drama schools. The Courtyard, PPA, real top drama schools that are going to be there. And so you can really chat to all these different schools and be like, what is the right route for me? Which are the ones that kind of would work for me? But then there's also people that are like, do you know what, I'm not going to go to drama school. I'm going to go and get my headshots done. I'm going to get myself an agent and I'm going to see what the industry's like for 3 years. And then I'm going to go to drama school after 3 years, after I've kind of, and this is the thing, like when you're young, there's just so many options. It can be so overwhelming. Like what's the right one to do? And knowledge is power, right? So if you go to an event like Young Talent Expo, you're able to meet with people, chat with people and find out, okay, is this the right route for me? Is this going to be useful? And having those face-to-face conversations just makes it so much easier. Like if you're online on the computer and you're like Googling headshot photographers and it's like, okay, this one. You book one and then you get on the room and you're like, oh my God, I really don't like that person. They're freaking me out, whatever it is, because you've never met them in person. Whereas if you come to something like Young Talent Expo and you meet like you guys, for example, and you're like, oh, I actually they made me feel calm. And I know that when I go in the headshot room, that person's going to make me feel calm. And that's what's really nice about coming to an in-person event is you get to have those face-to-face conversations and or like Spotlight, for example, you might be like, I don't really understand how it works. And one short conversation with them saves you hours on the website trying to go through all the blogs and things like that. And so those face-to-face conversations, like they're just gold dust, especially these days where there's so much more online. It's so nice to be able to have those conversations. And for parents coming to Young Talent Expo, to come into the event, you have your general admission ticket, which is really reasonable. It's £10. But then your children can, if they want to, can go off to the seminars and workshops all by themselves. It's not a huge venue. There's glass as well on the door, so you can kind of see in a bit if you want to. But they can be doing the seminars and workshops and you can be chatting to the exhibitors, watching the stage and stuff. So you can really kind of make sure that the kids are doing a seminar or workshop on screen acting or video game acting or TV commercials or whatever they're interested in. And you can be like, right, I'm actually going to go and chat to all these drama schools and find out what their criteria is. I'm going to go and find a headshot photographer and make sure that we get some good pictures done. Whatever it is, you can kind of be doing different things to your children. So you might have a different objective to them, which is quite nice about the event.
Yeah, and also because like when you go online, you can have like a lot of information, but that's the point, a lot.
Yes.
Can be confusing. In between, you get the scammers.
Yeah.
Once I remember I called one, I would start like to modeling, and I said, okay, I'll call one, and this guy said like, oh, okay, it's fantastic, yeah, but you need to do the picture. That's fantastic because I'm a headshot photographer, so it's fun to put up the phone. It's like, really? Are you joking?
Yeah.
So sometimes you can go there and you have like, you don't know the things. You read like, you see that my looks on the website, okay, my looks professional, and then you discover it's not for a simple, phone call.
Yeah.
But some people they're not doing that. They say that they're not in the industry. They go there, could be scammed, and that's not a nice experience.
Yeah.
So it's also, I think, going to this type of events is also like a filter as well.
Exactly.
To avoid any type of getting to scammers, especially also for people that are coming also from abroad.
Yeah.
When you have completely different parameters, headshots looks different. Doesn't exist. Example, I used to live in Italy. You don't have something like Spotlight. Doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And you meet people sometimes when you're like it, when you're adult, in a cafe.
Yeah. Okay.
If some actor creates something like it in the festival, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then it's like you don't have something to rely on except for an agent. So unless you know somebody that tell you this is a good agent, you're gonna get in the scam more easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So having someone like
absolutely.
Spotlight here, it help actually.
Yeah.
But if you come from abroad, you don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it helps to get there and ask all the questions instead of like funding in different things online.
Yeah.
It gets longer time.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. And the thing as well for the young people, like last year, we've got this really lovely girl called Pixie. She came to the event. She'd applied to one of the agents that was on the Perform for Good panel and also doing a seminar. And she'd applied. She'd never heard back from any emails or anything. And then, so her and her mum went up to the agent at the event and were like, hi, my name's Pixie. I've applied for you, blah, blah, blah. And that conversation, Bonnie from Bonnie and Betty was saying, I didn't realise how little she was. And I needed that. I had a casting that came in and I needed exactly who she was. She met them at the event because it was in person, not emailing and not online. She met her at the event. Since then, she then got the job that Bonnie was thinking of her for, which was filming in the new adaptation of Wicked, the musical, the big movie. And now she's going to be a lead on Stranger Things on the West End.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which is incredible. And it just goes to show, because it was in person, and Bonnie was like, I have seen your email, but I didn't realise how little you were. And that's what I need for this. So like, even if it's somebody that you've spoken to online, say it's a company, one of the drama schools or one of the more of the children's training, like there's the Actors Umbrella that are coming. And you say, okay, I've seen the Actors Umbrella online. I follow them on Instagram. I think they look kind of cool. But I'm not sure. Let me have a chat with them in person. And then, okay, that solidifies it. And that's what's really nice. And I say that to people that come before the event. Give all of the companies a bit of a research, because then when you go up to their booth and you can have a chat with them, you know a little bit about them already, and you're not just kind of completely, just everything's brand new. Whereas if you can kind of do a bit of research beforehand on all of the companies that are involved, then you know, okay, great, this is somebody that does this and I do need that. So I'm going to go make sure I connect with them and have a conversation.
Yeah, that help. And also does make your mind also, if you have some question to ask, you get everything in there.
Yeah, exactly. And being able to ask those questions in person is just, it's just really, really, really nice to have something in person where people can be there. They can feed off each other's energy as well. They can have that day which is designated to that. Like, it's so easy to be like, oh, I must research this, or I must do that, and it sits on your to-do list forever. Whereas when you've got that big event, whether it's Young Talent Expo or Actors Pro Expo, you've got that big event coming up and it's like, okay, cool. I know I'm going to that event now. I'm going to go there and I'm going to cross X, Y, Z off of my list, which is going to help me within my dream and my career and what I'm trying to live up to.
If you want to ask, if you want to give like advices for young actors and for established actors, be adult or beginning actors, they're adult, because sometimes there are people that are starting their career in the 40s, for instance. Which advice would you give? Like they say, the top 5 things that will you advise if you are a young actor, if you are an established actor, whatever is you're young or an adult, and if you are upcoming actor in your adult age.
Yeah, I mean, I think that after 16 years of running this event and seeing thousands of actors coming in and out the door and listening to probably up to 1,000 now seminars and workshops from different people, I think that the biggest piece of advice that I have for young people and adults and actors, number 1, is that one of the most important parts of a puzzle of an actor is your second income. How are you going to maintain yourself in this career? Whether or not are you going to make sure that you train as a voice coach, or are you going to make sure that you train as a hairdresser, or are you going to make sure whatever it is that you do, that is going to be flexible around auditioning. And that is really important for any actor, unless you've got someone who's going to be paying all your bills and your mortgage and whatever, making sure that the puzzle piece of financial independence is sorted, and some kind of passive income, whatever that is really important, because most actors that I know that have left the industry, understandably, is because they can't afford to be in it anymore. So I think that's probably one of the most important things. The second one is to stick with things, whether it's your agent or your training or your system or whatever it is, trying to stick with things, whatever it is that you've decided on, because it's too short to think, okay, after 2 months' time, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this. So unfortunately, it can be very slow in the industry. So just sticking with whatever it is that you've kind of are trying out, a bit like medicine, for example. If you're like, I'm going to try this new pill, whatever, you've got to stick things out for a little bit. You've got to kind of, keep going with whatever it is. The third one is ongoing training. There is amazing companies out there that do this. Mark German do it. I Am Pro do it. Mixing Networks. I'm going to get told off for not mentioning people, but so many companies.
I've been like in Mixing Network. They were really nice ones.
So many companies. Just Add Milk. Take One. I mean, there's so many. But yeah, ongoing training, so important. It's such an old British acting thing to be like, I've done my 3 years now, bye. No, ongoing training, really, really important. The next one is your marketing materials, and just thinking about them all the time. Most importantly, your headshots, making sure that those headshots are serving you. If you're not getting through the door, a lot of people are like, I'm going to change my agent. Okay, no, let's look at you first rather than your agent. Your agent is probably working really hard, because if you're not working, they're not getting paid. So actually making sure that you've got your own marketing materials that can make the job as easy as possible for your agent, then that's really important. And then the fifth and final one, I think, is just finding happiness outside of acting is really important. Finding other creative outlets. It is so unlikely that you are going to be full-time in acting work 24/7. It's so unlikely. So finding other outlets that make you happy, that bring you joy, means that when you're in that audition room, it's not like, if I don't get this job, then I've got nothing else to live for. Then it's like, yeah, cool, I've got an audition, great. Yeah, I've also got this going on. I'm also writing a play with someone, so I'm also running a networking event. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're also doing a lot of things.
They also keep the pressure away.
And it keeps the pressure away. I mean, Alexa Morden, who runs the 98% podcast, she talks a lot about this, and she does some really great blogs and Instagram lives and all sorts. But she talks a lot about this, finding joy outside of your acting. And so I would really encourage people to watch the 98%, that's another podcast, and listen to Alexa, because she really spreads a lot of really tangible advice for actors about making sure that all of your happiness is not in a casting director's control, and that you have your you have your happiness, and your happiness is not just about booking that role, because if that's your whole happiness, that's going to be a miserable life, because with acting, you're going to do 100 auditions and get 1, get 2. And okay, 1% of people might get every role that they go for, but that is not the norm. And if you want kind of longevity in the industry, and I watch people come to Actors Pro Expo every single year, and they are constantly working actors, but they come because they're always wanting to learn something new, and they're always, happy to kind of do new things, and they have that essence of confidence and that essence of control and that excitement around them. And sometimes you speak to them and they haven't worked for a year, and sometimes they have worked, and their happiness is the same regardless of whether or not they are booking jobs constantly or not. So yeah, I think those would be my 5 pieces of advice for actors in the industry, and also for the young performers as well.
Yeah, also because like so many times you see it, sometimes that your agent or your casting director or your teacher, someone's so distant from you.
Yeah.
Just because you have this pressure. Yeah. I believe it's some urban legend about it. Like they make like this kind of distant celebrity things that actually is not. And it's a teamwork.
Yeah, totally.
And I believe that the happier you are, the more confident you are, the easier you get to this relationship as a teamwork, because it's one is not working, the other is not working.
Yeah,
so totally. It's the same thing. So like the casting director wants to find you because that's their job. That makes them creative, proud that they found you. Doesn't mean that necessarily because they found you, you're going to have the job as well, because there are other people involved in it. And in that choice, maybe the director or the producer, they might have a combination of all the people they're going to choose to work together, and that chemistry, you might be perfect choice, but not for this project, but they will remember you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everything is kind of a stepstone to the next page, until you just finish one book and then you open another book and then another one and then another one. But like you said, if you put all your effort just in one thing, and that's it disappointing you, because sometimes it takes a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You might work here and there, small role here, small role there, and then you want to do something else. You pick up doing all the jobs that you don't want to, but there's more roles that one open, so you do that one. And anyway, give you money, so you do, and it makes you be in there. Yeah. And then you got the frustration because you're not doing what you wanted to do.
Yep.
And if you don't have something else that makes you happy,
absolutely.
It's infinitive.
Yeah.
Rather than when you are just busy something else, that call arrived, is, oh my gosh, really? I wasn't even thinking about it. Wake up, like it became fast rather than infinitive waiting time.
Yeah, absolutely. We've all done it. You're just on your phone constantly refreshing your emails, waiting for that constant email. Is it going to come? Is it going to come? Putting the phone down. Like, is it going to come? Is it going to come? And if you've got so many things that you're waiting on and so many things that you're doing, you haven't got time to be scrolling down, waiting to see if that email comes, because you're busy doing other things and you've got this going on, you've got that going on. And then, the email comes back and it's like, oh, amazing. Or, oh, damn it, I didn't get it. Okay, no worries, because I'm busy doing that. And it's like when you come into the audition room and it's like, oh, so what have you been up to? You never say nothing. It's like you've been busy doing this and this and this and this, and you always have something to talk about. And it's it's the same with chatting to other people, and especially people that are not in the industry, and they're like, oh, so when was your last job, or what you're working on next? And actors hate that question, and I think that's really understandable. But if they're able to respond to that with oh yeah, well, I'm writing this, or I'm doing this, then it kind of breaks that kind of awkward moment of nothing, because sometimes in reality it is nothing.
It is. Okay, I think we arrived on our end of the episode. That was really, really insightful.
Thank
all
you.
the tips you gave. Like I was like thinking myself as well, of all the mistakes I've done in between, like changing the picture, I was one of those.
Yeah, same.
And also because I tend to change my hairstyle quite a lot as a personal thing, so not as an acting thing. Like after a while, I look myself and it's like, no, I don't like it. And I had a lot of time. I just say, you need to stop it.
Yeah.
You need to keep at least the time to be remembered as a casting director.
Yeah, totally.
And then for me, I find really tough to do. I keep updated my headshots, but of course you're not branding yourself right. So I think this is like, for me personally, it's like okay, I haven't thought about it, but it makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, when I was working in the casting website world, I would recognise people. I'd be like, oh yeah, I know that person, because I'd see that same headshot constantly. Whereas there's probably loads of other people that I might have recognised, but I wouldn't, because the headshot was constantly changing, so it doesn't, So yeah, I think it is good for actors to know.
It is. So we arrive at the end of our episode. Please, if you like this episode, if you like the podcast, subscribe to the channel, press a like, share. Also, if you are living in London and you want to come to the Young Talent Expo, it's going to be
November the 9th in London at 155 Bishopsgate. And these guys will be there as well. So come along and chat to them in person. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. And also I'm going to put on the link the podcast we're talking about. So I'm going to put the link if you want to have a look, because we have a good insight. So to have a joyful career. And see you on the next episode. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.